Okay. Good morning, my dear students. Today I'm going to give a lecture on inferential statistics. One minute. In the previous class, I have explained about measures of central tendency and measures of dispersion. So descriptive statistics, if data is qualitative, you can represent with the percentage and frequency. If data is quantitative and follows normal distribution, you can represent descriptive statistics with the mean and standard deviation. And if data do not follow the normal distribution, that means data contains the outliers, then you can apply median and interquartile range as a descriptive statistics. This already covered. Next, normal distribution. So we cannot, in the measures of central tendency, we can represent the entire data of a variable with a single value. That single value we cannot consider as normality. We have to accept the deviations in the data. And universally accepted normal limits, 95% confidence limits, that is mean plus or minus 2 standard deviation. Okay, that is already covered, the concept of normal distribution. By using normal distribution, we can find the limits of normality in biology. Okay. Next, finally, standard normal distribution. So what is the use of standard normal distribution? So we can find three areas, fixed areas in normal distribution, that is 68%, 95% and 99% of area cover mean plus or minus 3 standard deviation limits. But if you want to find the area between two ordinates, you have to convert normal distribution into standard normal distribution, and a fixed normal distribution, standard normal distribution tables are there. By using the table values, we can find the area between any two ordinates. These are the topics I already covered in the previous classes. And today's objectives, learning objectives. At the end of this session, you should be able to understand. You will be able to understand what is estimation and the types of estimations, point estimation and interval estimation. Next, testing of hypothesis. Significance of difference between two proportions. If data is qualitative, and if you want to compare two different groups, then you can apply significance of difference between two proportions. I will explain how to do it in the next slides. Next, significance of difference between two means. Two different groups, if you want to compare mean difference between two groups, the difference is statistically significant or not, we can find by using significance of difference between two means concept. Next, errors. What is type 1 error and what is type 2 error? I am going to explain today. Okay. See here, I wanted to do a study, that is, I wanted to find prevalence of refractive errors in second year medical students of our college. So this is my study. And what is the population of, what is the population? Population means don't think general population. That is related to our study. What are the study subjects here? 150 MBBS students of second year MBBS students of our college. So what is our population here? The population is capital N is equal to 150. Why we are representing with the capital N? Because the N is represents the population. All population parameter you should represent with the capital values, and all sample statistics, we can call it as, suppose if you calculate mean for population, you can represent it with the capital X bar. Okay. If you calculate same mean in the sample, you can represent it with a small x bar. You have to represent with the capital letters all population parameters. Mean, standard deviation, all these things, if you calculate for the population, that is called the parameter. If you calculate mean, standard deviation, etc. to the sample, that is called statistic. Okay. So here, so I don't want to take entire 150 students data. I don't have time, so that by using sampling techniques, I will explain in future classes what is sampling. The sampling is the process of selecting samples from the population. So this is the population, and here my sample size is 30 out of 150 population. I have taken sample of 30 subjects. Subjects means here medical students, second year medical students. And I took the data whether they have refractive errors or not. What is the data? I mean here, what is the type of data refractive errors? I will open a chart. You can tell me refractive errors present or not. What is the type of data? Refractive errors, quantitative or qualitative? Data is divided into two groups. One is quantitative and another one is qualitative. Quantitative data means data which can be measurable. Qualitative which cannot be measurable. Here refractive error present or not, absent. Is it qualitative data or quantitative? That is my question. I opened the chart. You can give the answer. Okay, here, so refractive errors. See, some responses, quantitative data. See here, refractive error, whether it is present or not. We are collecting only bivariate data, that is present or not. Only two values are there. That is not exact a measurement here. We are not doing the measurement. This is qualitative data. We are not measuring here. I'm not talking about the procedure of refractive errors. Whether the student have refractive errors or not, yes or no. That is the data I'm collecting from the student, so that it comes under qualitative data. Okay. So out of 30 students, 15 students had refractive errors. So that 15 by 30, that is equal to 50%. But we are giving statistics for the sample, but we have to give results to the population. That is our main intention. See, what is the title here? Prevalence of refractive errors in second year medical students of our college. So that you have to calculate capital P value. That means population parameter, that is population prevalence. So for 30 samples, the prevalence is 50%. For 150 population, what is the prevalence? Here I'm open the chart. You can give the answer. For 30 samples, the prevalence is 50%. This is the sample of 30 observations. The prevalence is 50. And here n equal to 150 population size. And what is the prevalence in population? I opened the chart. So my question is, the population is 150. Out of 150 medical students, I have taken a sample of 30 students. And out of 30, 50 members had a refractive errors. So that the P is equal to prevalence of refractive errors is equal to 50%. If population size is here, population size is 150, what is the prevalence of population? So some responses. So 250 and 75%. See, This is the percentage. The 10 pen cost 20 rupees, then 20 pens cost how much? Not like that. You cannot calculate like mathematical calculation. See here. Here, this is the percentage. Okay. So some responses I got 50. Okay, 50. And some response 75 to 50. Okay, I will explain. See here. The sample is, see, in place of population, we have taken a sample, and here prevalence of refractive error is 50%. And we have to estimate the population parameters by using sample statistics. How to estimate the population parameters, I will explain. So here in the sample size is 30 and prevalence of refractive errors 50%, and in the population size is 150. So actually we have to give results to the population based on the sample statistic value. What is the population parameter? Population parameter means prevalence in population, prevalence of refractive errors in population, that is equal to 50%. So whatever the results you will get in the sample, you can generalize those results to the population, that is called the point estimation. Clear? Whatever the results you will get in the sample, those results you can generalize to the population, so that here population, in the population, prevalence of refractive errors is equal to 50%. But I will explain what is the disadvantage of point estimation and how to overcome that. I will explain the next slide. See here, this is the population of size 150 subjects, and we don't know the population parameter because we are doing not entire population study, we are doing only sample study. And I have taken some samples of size 30, and here P is equal to 50%. If you do the same study again, and here the sample size here also 30, and what prevalence will you get here? It may be less than 50%, it may be more than 50%, or sometimes it may be 50% also. And you can again take another 30 samples, and will you get the same p-value here? The prevalence you cannot get the same 50% in all the three cases, yes or no? So the prevalence of refractive errors from sample to sample, it varies. This variation we can measure by using the concept standard error. Standard deviation is different, standard error is different. Standard deviation, you can find the deviation in individual observations. You can take some hemoglobin values, weight values, or height values. You can take any quantitative variable, and how observations are scattered from the mean value, you can find by using standard deviation. But here, this is not individual observation, this is a statistic. Statistic means any statistical calculations in the sample, that is called the statistics. Any statistical calculation in the population, that is called the parameter. Here capital P is parameter, and here small p is statistic. See here, sample to sample, this prevalence of refractive errors definitely varies. Okay, if you want to find the deviations in the statistics, statistic means this is 50. Let us suppose this is take it as 48. This is 52. So sample to sample, this prevalence of refractive errors varies. This variation we can find numerically by using the concept standard error. Okay. So these are the formulas for calculating standard error. For proportions, if data is qualitative, so this is the formula for calculating standard error of proportions. Here P is the prevalence of, this is the proportion. In our example, prevalence of refractive errors, P is equal to 50. And what is Q? Q is equal to 100 minus P. Q also 50. By what is N? N is number of samples, a small n. Number of samples, that is equal to 30. You will get the standard error of P. Okay. In real time, you no need to take different samples. Okay. Statisticians derived the formula standard error. You can take only one sample. Based on the sample results, you can calculate the standard error. Okay. In real time, you no need to take different samples. Okay. And next, for quantitative data, you have to calculate the means. You will get different samples you can take. For example, I want to measure the hemoglobin. Suppose if I take 30 samples, average hemoglobin, I will get some value. And again, if I take another sample, I will get another mean. It may be lesser than the previous one, first sample, or greater than the first sample. Okay. So sample to sample, this mean values differ. That deviation we can find numerically by using standard error of mean, because the data is quantitative. Here, what is standard error of mean formula? SD by root n. What is SD? Standard deviation by square root of n. What is n? Number of samples. Next. So these are the formulas for interval estimation. What is the formula for interval estimations? We can take different proportions. The population is homogeneous. We can take different samples, and this proportion, I mean, this prevalence of refractive errors in different samples follows the normal distribution. Because the population is homogeneous, you can take the subsets of the population. Definitely you don't get the higher the variation, so that because you are taking the sample from homogeneous population, so that this data follows the normal distribution. All P means here prevalence. Prevalence all the samples prevalence follows the normal distribution. These proportions follows the normal distribution, so that P plus or minus 2 times the, not here standard deviation, because not dealing with the individual observations, we are dealing with the sample statistic. That is prevalence here. Prevalence of proportion here. Standard error of P. That means this interval covers 95% of the proportion values. Okay. Next, in case of quantitative data, this is the formula for interval estimation. That is mean plus or minus 2 times the standard error of mean. In the previous slide, I have shown you the formulas of standard error of P and standard error of mean. With an example, I will explain. So please note down these formulas: standard error of proportion and standard error of mean. Square root of PQ by N. Here Q is equal to 100 minus P. This is the formula for standard error of proportion, and this is the formula for standard error of mean. SD by square root of N. SD means the standard deviation and N sample size. So these are the formulas for interval estimation. If data is qualitative, this is the formula. If data is quantitative, this is the formula. Okay. See, interval estimation for proportion. A sample of 30 students was selected at random. Prevalence of refractive errors were found to be 50%. What is this 50%? This is point estimation. 50% point estimation. Find interval estimation, that is 95% confidence for prevalence of refractive errors in the population. See here, P is equal to 50 and N is equal to 30. How to calculate Q? Q equal to 100 minus P, that equal to 100 minus 50, that is equal to 50. So I will show you calculation in this slide. So what is, how to calculate standard error of P? P into Q by N, square root of P into Q by N. What is p value? P is refractive errors. Prevalence of refractive errors 50 into Q 50. What is the formula of Q? 100 minus T Q 50. And what is the number of samples? So sample size is 30. Then you will get the standard error of proportion 9.13. Next, what is the formula for interval estimation for proportions 95% confidence level? That is P plus or minus 2 into standard error of P. What is P? Prevalence is 50% plus or minus 2 times the standard error of P, that equal to 9.13. That equal to 50 plus or minus 18.26, that equal to 32. You subtract 18.26 from 50, that is lower limit, and you can add 18.26 to the 50, that is upper value. So what is 32% to 68%? The population prevalence lies between 32% to 68%. What is the point estimation in our sample? Prevalence is equal to 50%. We are estimating the population prevalence of in the population. The point estimation saying that whatever the result you will get in the sample, you can generalize those results to the population. Point estimation is saying capital P is equal to 50%. See, suppose if you do again the study, or you can take entire population, suppose if you have time, then calculate the p value. It may differ from the sample prevalence. Okay, the difference is called error. Or else if you take another sample, the previous sample prevalence may not tally with the present sample prevalence. So that the variation is there. First you have to calculate the variations in statistic. Then by using standard error, then you can make the interval estimation for the population. So this is the interval estimation. That means prevalence in the population lies between 32% to 68%. One interval we are giving here for finding population results. Okay. This is for qualitative data. This is the assignment. Please note down. A sample of 100 subjects aged greater than 60 years were selected at random, and prevalence of hypertension was found to be 50%. Here P is equal to 50%. Find 95% confidence level for prevalence of hypertension in the population. See here, the researcher taken a sample of 100 subjects and he got the prevalence of hypertension 50%. So our intention is we wanted to give the results to the population, not to the sample. We know the sample result, and you can find the confidence interval for the population. So this is the assignment. Please note down. Next, interval estimation for mean. A sample of 100 homogeneous subjects were selected at random, and their blood loss in a particular operation was collected. Average blood loss was 150 ml with a standard deviation 25 ml. Find interval estimation of blood loss. See, total 100 subjects and their blood loss, on an average blood loss is 150 ml with a standard deviation 25 ml. These are the statistics came from the sample, but we have to give the results to the population. So that here we are calculating interval estimation for the population. See, what is the formula? First you have to calculate the standard error of mean. So what is the formula? Sg by root n. What is standard deviation is 25 and the sample size is 100. I will show you again the question. See here, the sample size is 100, standard deviation 25, and sample mean is 150. Sample mean means average blood loss 150 ml. Okay. Then calculate 25 by root 100. The value is equal to 2.5. This is the calculation for standard error of mean, because data is quantitative. Blood loss measured in ml. So interval estimation for mean. So 95% confidence levels. What is the formula? Mean plus or minus 2 into standard error of mean. What is standard error of mean value? 2.5. And what is the mean value? Mean blood loss 150. So here, what is the interval? 145 ml to 155 ml. In the sample, mean blood loss is 150 ml, and we are finding statistics for the population. So what is the interval estimation? 145 ml to 155 ml. That means the population parameter, that means population mean, lies in the interval between 145 ml to 155 ml. Okay. So this is the way we have to calculate the interval estimation for proportions and interval estimation for mean. Okay. So estimation is divided into two types. One is point estimation and second one is interval estimation. The point estimation means whatever the results you will get in the sample, you can generate those results to the population. But population mean or population proportion definitely differ with the sample. This difference is called the error. So that we should not represent with a single value, that means point estimation. So we better to give an interval for finding the population parameters, so that we have two different types of data, qualitative and quantitative. First, you have to calculate the standard error. Then you can calculate interval estimation. If data is quantitative, then you can calculate the interval estimation for mean. If data is qualitative, then you can calculate the interval estimation for the proportion. Okay. So this is the concept of point estimation and interval estimation. Okay. So this is the second assignment. A sample of 100 homogeneous subjects selected at random, and they recovered from a particular disease. Average recovery was 24 days. They recovered in 24 days. That is the average. And total sample size is equal to 100, and with a standard deviation 6 days. So this is the standard deviation, this is mean value, sample mean value, this is sample standard deviation, and the sample size is equal to 100. First you have to calculate the standard error of mean, then calculate 95% confidence level interval estimation for mean. Okay. Next. Here I am again open the chart. Please tell me. So these are the descriptive statistics. The student A mean marks 50 with the standard deviation 2, and in case of student B mean marks 51 with the standard deviation 2. Deviation is same, and mean marks A 50, B 51. Please tell me who is best between A and B. I opened the chart. So many responses. B is better than A. Okay. I close chart. See here, so mathematics saying that B is better than A, but in statistics it is only by chance. The difference is only 1. See here, the difference between 50 and 51, the difference is only 1 here. So mean difference. And statistics is saying that it is only by chance. It is not a statistically significant difference. So because of the greatness of B, you don't get the highest mark than A. It is only by chance. The difference is very less. That difference is high, then we can say that the difference is statistically significant, so that we can take the decision B is better than A. But how to find this significance, I will explain. So where will you get the significance? Suppose if B got only 50, the difference is less. Here the difference is 5, the difference is 10, and here difference is 40. Where will you get the significance? By using appropriate statistical methods, you can find the difference is statistically significant or not. Okay, I will explain with an example. See, if you are comparing two different data, I mean, group A here in the previous example, student A marks and student B marks. You are comparing student A with the student B. There are two groups, so you are comparing two groups. If data is qualitative, you can compare the difference between two proportions. If data is quantitative, you can compare the difference between the means. Okay. First, you have to calculate the standard error. Okay. Significance of difference between two proportions. If data is qualitative, then this is the formula of standard error, square root of P1 Q1, the first group proportion, and the second group 100 minus P, sorry, first group Q value, and by divided by N1, first group sample size, and second group proportion, and Q 100 minus Qt equal to 100 minus P2 by N2 means second group sample size. Okay. In case of quantitative data, if you want to find significance of difference between two means, first you have to calculate the standard error. The formula is square root of standard deviation 1 square by N1, the first group standard deviation, plus SD square by SD2 square by N2, the standard deviation for the second sample, second group, whole square by N2 means second group sample size. I will explain with an example, don't worry. So this is the procedure in testing of hypothesis. So the first step is, first you have to assume null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. See, before the experiment, you don't know what result you will get at the end of the experiment. So that first you have to assume the null and alternative hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? Null hypothesis says always no significant difference. The previous example, there is no significant difference in marks between student A and student B. That is our null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is opposite to the null hypothesis. That is significant difference between the groups. The previous example, there is a statistically significant difference in marks between student A and student B. That is our alternative hypothesis. Okay. Next, the second step is calculate the observed difference. What is the observed difference? In the previous example, we have taken mean marks of two different students. The first one is 50 and second student got 51. The observed difference is 51 minus 50, that is equal to 1. Difference between means, if data is quantitative, if data is qualitative, difference between the proportions. Okay. Next step, second step is calculate the observed difference. Next, in third step, calculate standard error. I have shown you how to calculate the standard error to find difference between proportions or difference between means in the previous slide. You have to calculate the standard error and you can multiply with the 2. Standard error multiply with the 2. You can say result is significant only if observed difference, this observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error. If observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error, then you can say that the difference is statistically significant. Okay. I will explain with an example. See here, find significant difference between two proportions. Okay. Here, two different drugs are there. This is consider B is existing drug and A is new drug. We have given for this is the experiment. We have given drug B to 100 subjects. And out of 100, 60 were recorded, 40 deaths are there. And by giving drug A, drug B, the drug A given to 100 observations, I mean 100 subjects. Out of 100, 80 survived by giving drug A and 20 deaths are there. See here, which drug is better one? Here we have to compare the proportions. The survival rate by drug A and survival rate by drug B, this difference is statistically significant, then you can say that one drug is better than the other drug. This difference is not statistically significant, then you can accept the null hypothesis. That means that there is no statistical significance. So for this, first, what is the first step in the testing of hypothesis? First, you have to assume the null hypothesis. What is the null hypothesis here? There is no significant difference in survival rates between two drugs. What is drug? Two drugs, drug A and drug B. And what is alternative hypothesis? Is the opposite to the null hypothesis. That is, there is a significant difference in survival rates between two drugs. Okay. Next. What is next step? First, you have to calculate the survival rates. So by drug A. So total recovered survived 80 out of 100 into 100, we will get the percentage P1 that is equal to 80%. Next, survival rate by drug B, the 60 survived out of 100 into 100, you will get the percentage that equal to 60%, that is equal to P2. Proportion in second group, proportion in first group. Okay. What is the observed difference? P1 minus P2, 80 minus 60, that is equal to 60. Sorry, that equal to 20. This is the observed difference, step 2. Next, you have to calculate the standard error. Here the P1, P2 are proportions. This is whether the subject is recovered or death. We collected the data, recovered or death. The qualitative data we collected, this is not a quantitative data. So we have converted into proportions, P1, P2. And what is the formula for standard error? Square root of P1 Q1 by N1 plus P2 Q2 by N2. That equal to, in the first group, what is P1? 80. Q1, 100 minus P1. 100 minus P1 value 80. So that is equal to 20 divided by N1, number of samples in the first group, that is equal to 100, plus P2, second group of proportion, that is equal to 60, into 100 minus Q2. So 100 minus P2, that is equal to 100 minus 60, that is equal to 40, divided by N2, number of samples in the second group. Total number of samples 100. Okay. We have to calculate the standard error between the proportions. The standard error value is equal to 6.3. What is step 3? We have to multiply 2 times the standard error. So that is equal to 2 into 6.3, 12.6. Here, observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error. Observed difference is 20. What is observed difference? I will show you. What is observed difference? P1 minus P2, that is equal to 20. Even you can take a P2 minus P1, you should take a modulus value. You should not take a negative value here. You should take only a positive value. You can take modulus here, P1 minus P2, that is equal to 20. That is the observed difference is 20. And it is greater than the 2 times the standard error, that is equal to 12.6. So what is our conclusion? If observed value is greater than the observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error, then we have enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis. What is our null hypothesis? No significant difference in survival rates between the two drugs. We got an evidence so that we can reject the null hypothesis. The data favors to the alternative hypothesis. What is alternative hypothesis? There is a significant difference in survival rates between two drugs, so that which drug is better one? Drug A is better than the drug B. Suppose if we get here uh, not statistical significance, that means, for example, in case of drug A 80%, and in case of drug B survival rate is 78%. The difference, suppose if you get negative, not significant, that means both drugs are working almost same, only the difference is only by chance, not because of drug A. Okay, here we scientifically proved that there is a statistical significance difference in survival rates between two drugs, so that drug A is better than the drug B. Drug A survival rate 80%, and in case of drug B survival rate is only 60%. And this difference between the proportions statistically, see, we proved statistically it is significant. Okay, next. This is the assignment. Please note down, you can calculate significance of difference between two proportions. Refractive errors of males 20 means you have to calculate the proportion here 20 by 40 into 150%, and refractive errors present in case of females 25 out of 40, 25 by 40 into 100. It is almost 62.5. This 50 and 62.5, this difference is statistically significant or not, you can find by using the concept significance of difference between two proportions. Please note down and do it. This is the assignment number 3. Next, find significant difference between two means. If data is quantitative, then how to find the significance difference between two means, I will explain with this example. So this is socio-economic status, high socio-economic status group. We have collected 100 subjects data of the data is hemoglobin, and the mean hemoglobin of high socio-economic status group is 15 with a standard deviation 2, and whereas in low socio-economic status group, here also we have collected 100 observed subjects data, and that is hemoglobin, and here mean value is 12 with the standard deviation is equal to 1. So what is the first step? Null hypothesis. First you have to assume the null hypothesis. There is no significant difference in hemoglobin levels between low and high socioeconomic groups, high socioeconomic status groups. What is the alternative hypothesis? There is a significant difference in hemoglobin between low and high socioeconomic status groups. See here, this difference, 15 minus 12, this difference is statistically significant or not. We will find by using the concept significant difference of difference between two means. Okay. So what is the formula? What is the observed difference here? The first group hemoglobin, mean hemoglobin value in high socioeconomic group 15 minus in low socioeconomic group mean hemoglobin value 12. The difference is equal to 3. This is observed difference. What is next step? You have to calculate the standard error of difference between two means. What is the formula? SD1 square by N1 plus SD2 square by N2. What is SD1? First group standard deviation square by first group sample size plus second group standard deviation whole square by second group sample size. Okay, I will show you table once again. The first group mean value 15. First group means high socioeconomic status group. And low socioeconomic status group mean value 12. Here the standard deviation is 2 and here standard deviation is equal to 1. This is SD1, this is SD2 and 100 and 2 also 100. You can substitute all these values into this formula and you will get the standard error finally 0.22. Next, what is third step? You have to multiply 2 times the standard error, that is equal to 0.44. 2 into 0.022, that equal to 0.45. Next, you can compare observed difference with the 2 times the standard error. Here also, observed difference is greater than 2 times the standard error. Observed difference is 3 and 2 times the standard error is 0.44. So in testing of hypothesis, if observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error, that means we have an evidence to reject the null hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? No statistical significance between mean hemoglobin between low and high socioeconomic status group. We proved that there is a significant difference in hemoglobin levels between low socioeconomic status and high socioeconomic status. So that means, hemoglobin levels are high in high socioeconomic status group than the low socioeconomic status group. It is statistically significant. Clinical significance is different and statistical significance is different. Okay. Next, this is the assignment. Find significance between two means. These are the mean values. 67. Mean weight of males of sample size 100 is equal to 67 with a standard deviation 5. And in case of female, mean weight is 52. And here sample size here also 100 with a standard deviation 4. There are two different groups. The grouping variable is gender. This difference is statistically significant or not. You can do it. This is the assignment number 4. What is our null hypothesis? There is no significant difference in mean weight between males and females. Okay, and you can make the alternative hypothesis. Next, observe difference and calculate the standard error and multiply with 2. Then you can check whether the observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error or not. If observed difference is greater than the 2 times the standard error, then significant is, or else there is no significance. So this is assignment number 4. Next, errors. See here, you are dealing with the samples, not with the population. So sometimes the population size is infinite. So you cannot study, say if you want to do study on pregnant women, you cannot take all pregnant women in India. You don't know the exact value of population size. This is the infinite number. So in this case, we have to take the samples and do study on only samples. And sometimes population size is finite. We know the number, but if you don't have time, you cannot take the data from entire population. In this case also, you should take only sample study. You have to study the samples. And so money in research, time and money, these two factors are very important. See, we are doing some biological, some tests are doing, the test cost is very high. and you don't have sufficient funds, then you cannot take total population. You can take some samples and do the study and generalize whatever the results you will get in the sample to the population by using appropriate statistical methods. But you are doing only sample study. Sometimes there is a possibility to get errors. That is, in naturally, there is no significance, but you may prove significant difference because you are dealing with the samples only. Okay. And in the second case, there is a significance, but you proved that there is no significance. See, I will explain. Here, this is the nature, the true state of nature. It's no significance. Conclusion that you drawn from your study. Okay, from your research, you proved no significance, and naturally also there is no significance. So there is no problem. Naturally no significance, and also you proved no significance, then there is no problem. And naturally, significant exists between two groups, and in your research, you collected the samples and you did the study and you proved significant difference. There is no problem, no error. But observe here, in nature, there is no significant difference, but you proved significant. This is called type 1 error. And observe this case. In nature, significance is there, but in your research, you proved no significance. This is called type 2 error. It is represented with beta, and type 1 error, it is represented with alpha. You have to reduce these errors, then your quality of the study will be increased. Okay. Type 1 error is rejecting H naught when it is true. That is called the type 1 error. Usually we can take up to 5%. This is not fixed, but usually we can take up to 5%. And type 2 error we can take up to 20%. Why we can take up to 20% type 2 error? See here, till now we don't know the difference between two groups. Till now we are thinking that the two groups difference is not statistical significant. But you wanted to prove significance, but you not proved here. No, you are not proved here, but naturally significant exists. Till now, we are thinking that there is no significance, but you wanted to prove the significance, but you don't prove the significance. Naturally, significance is there, but you proved not significant. This is also error. We have to reduce these errors. I do accept, but someone may solve this problem in future. He may do the same study in the future and he may prove the significance. Because till now, we are thinking that there is no significance, and whatever what is going today, and the same thing will go tomorrow also. Someone will do the same research, he may prove the significance, no problem. But here, there is no significance in nature, but you are proving significant difference. This is more dangerous than the type 1 error is more dangerous than the type 2 error. In nature, there is no significance, but you are proving there is a significance. We have to reduce these errors as much as possible, so that your quality of the study will be increased. Okay. Here, alpha means, suppose if you take alpha error 5% means confidence level is 95%. 95% confidence level means 5% alpha error is there. Here 100 minus beta, that is called power of the study. 100 minus 20, that is equal to 80%. Here confidence level is 95% and power is 80%. You can increase the confidence level 99%. Then what is the type 1 error? Type 1 error is 1%. Alpha is 1%. You can increase the power 90%. Then what is the type 2 error? 10%. Okay. power is 90%, beta 10%, confidence level 99%, and alpha 1%. See, these are the mathematical calculations we have to do from beginning of the study. First, we have to calculate the sample size. First, we have to decide what is confidence level and what is alpha level, and how much we have to take the power, and beta, type 2 error. Based on all these things, first we have to calculate the sample size. You cannot take your own samples scientifically. We have to calculate the sample size for the research studies. Okay. In that case, we use the confidence levels, type 1 error, type 2 error, and power of the study. Okay. No significance means, does it mean failure of research? I will open the chart. So this is my question. So there are two different drugs exist in drug is, and you invented a new drug, and you wanted to prove that your drug is better than the existing drug, and you did some research, and you got the results, and finally you found that there is no significant difference between two drugs, existing drug and your invented new drug. Then what does it mean? Does it mean failure of research? Yes or no? See, for example, consider here, drug cost is very, you invented new drug with a very lesser cost, and when compared to the existing drug. If that is the case, then no significant difference exists, but we are using still existing drug, and you can recommend your drug. It is also working with same with the existing drug, and the price is very less, so that you can recommend your drug. We don't think that no significant results means the failure of research. Okay. See, a mother had some, 3 children. They are not taking milk, so mother wanted to give some intervention, some energy drink. She wanted to give. So he wanted to something to the milk, and her hypothesis is children will take milk because of her intervention. That is the hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. What is our null hypothesis? No significant difference, even you add the some energy drink, even if you add, there is no statistical significance. That is our null hypothesis. At the end of the experiment, and children are not taking the milk, even you add the energy drink. So that means even you, that is the research your mother did. She added some milk, something to the milk, even though children are not interested to take the milk. That means this intervention, even you add this some energy powder, even you add, there is no statistical significance, means this energy powder is not showing interest to the children to take the milk. That is the finding you found in your research. You don't think that no statistical significant result is failure of research. Okay, in your research you may get significant results or not significant results. Not significant result also the research. Remember. So these are all MCQs. See the first MCQ. Method of inferential statistics. The question number and write the answer. Methods of inferential statistics. Question number 1. Don't write ABC options. Write the answer. Next, question 2. Points estimation is better than interval estimation. Is it wrong statement or right statement? Next, question 3. If data is qualitative, tests of significance. Next, question number 4. For estimating population parameter, 95% confidence limits for quantitative data. What is the formula of 95% confidence limits for quantitative data? Next, if you increase the sample size, what about the standard error? A hint is you can observe the formula of standard error, then you will get the answer. Range of confidence limits is less when next, question number 7. Standard error will be increased when standard deviation is high, standard deviation is low, either A or B, none of the above. Next, question number 8. Descriptive statistics. Standard error of mean depends on standard deviation, mean deviation, range, none of the above. Standard error of mean depends on. Next question, if data is heterogeneous, then the range of confidence limits. Population is heterogeneous, then range of confidence limits. Type 1 error is more serious than type 2 error. True or false? So these are the students submitted both the assignments. And these are the students submitted one assignment and rest are not submitted any assignment. So I will assign some similar topics who not done the assignments, and they will present the seminars in our demonstration room in future. Okay. So very good who submitted both the assignments. Thank you.